About 6 months ago, a casual friend of mine, Carl, asked me to take his little dog Max for 2 weeks while he went to visit his family. Max has separation anxiety and barks a lot if he left alone. But I was recovering from some health issues and working from home at the time, so I agreed. It went smoothly at first, though my cat bullied him some. I thought it was odd that Carl never called to check on Max, but I figured he was enjoying his trip, so I sent update texts every few days and let it be. Carl didn't show at the end of the 2 weeks, no calls, no answering the dozen messages I left, and I was still working from home at this point, so while I was very worried, I could still easily care for Max. By this point, the food has run out and I'm feeding him out of my own pocket. 4 weeks in, I'm supposed to return to the office. I fib a bit to my doctor and get a note and extend my work from home period by another 2 weeks. Still nothing from Carl. We only have a few mutual friends and none of them have heard from him either. I am leaving voicemails every single day. 6 weeks in, I have to go back to the office and Max must be left alone during the day. It got poorly. No one said anything the first week, but by week 2, I'm getting notes on my door about the parking. It doesn't take long until I get a call from my landlord that they are getting complaints and I need to do something about it. My cat is clearly miserable as well and is getting meaner and meaner towards Max. I still attempt to contact Carl, but at this point, I assume I won't hear back, possibly ever. I Google his name for arrest records or obituaries. I found his mom's Facebook and sent a friend request with a message, but it was either an unused account or she ignored me because I never heard back. At nearly 8 weeks, I gave Max to another friend's mom. She's retired, owns her property, and lost her dog last year, and I thought she'd be a perfect match for Max. I was right. He settled right in and they are both very happy together. I'm relieved that I could avoid surrendering Max at the shelter. And I leave one final message for Carl. Last week, Carl showed up on my porch, had a serious mental health episode, and eventually landed in the hospital and then into a facility. He had lost his phone at some point near the beginning of his break and never received any of my messages. He was absolutely furious to find out that I had given his dog away. I had to close the door in his face after a while because he was scaring me. He made a mess on my porch and left. He's been calling me non-stop from different numbers to scream at me to get Max back, but I don't want to. Max is good where he is, but I'm struggling with my decision. On one hand, his condition is out of his control and it wasn't his fault that he abandoned Max. But on the other hand, objectively it doesn't matter why. The dog is simply better off in a stable home, but maybe that's not my call to make. I am not sure how I should feel. So, am I in the wrong? You're not in the wrong. Honestly, it sounds like he probably isn't stable enough to be appropriately caring for this dog, at the moment at least. I have a brother who has bouts of very serious mental health episodes, and he keeps getting pets and rehoming them over and over again. Also, he probably should have left you with a way to contact someone, anyone other than him in an emergency. Not in the wrong. Carl needs to tell his mental health professional about this and work through it. You did the right thing. You went way above and beyond. He falls off the face of the earth for 6 months. The dog is well homed and happy. I don't buy the excuses, so he lost his phone. They didn't have phones where he was at. He knew the position he put you in by not even doing you the courtesy of a call, or having his doctor call you. If he keeps coming around, call in a harassment complaint. You're not in the wrong. People are missing a key point here. Carl didn't come back and the OP had to act due to complaints. The other option was the dog goes to the pound. Dogs with separation anxiety often do poorly in such environments and can easily result in them getting outdone. The dog had been with a new owner for 4 months before Carl returned, so easily could have been put down in that time or rehomed elsewhere. Carl is lucky that OP acted to ensure the dog went somewhere they are loved and looked after. For reference, I live in a nice apartment complex with very clear quiet hours between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. I don't care if you're next door to me playing video games or talking, I really can't hear you. Bass, however, travels and rattles my floor/ceiling. Used to live below a neighbor who had his bass set up on the floor, and it was so loud I couldn't sleep. We moved and got to the top level. Now the downstairs neighbor likes to throw loud bass-filled EDM parties. Tonight it started at 2:30 in the morning. Whatever, that's fine, I'm watching TV, I don't care. Now it's almost 4:15 a.m. and I want to sleep, which I feel is reasonable. In the past, at the last apartment, I'd text a neighbor and tell him he was being too loud and he would turn it down for maybe 15 minutes before cranking up again. Complained to the apartment complex and they didn't do anything except move my unit to a top floor. Now this guy below me is fine enough. I have his number, but I'm also not his mom. I don't need to tell him clearing his subwoofers at 4 a.m. is wrong. And I've contacted him in the past and his behavior hasn't changed. So I talked to the management and they said to call the police, on-site or dispatch, and document and report it that way. So I did. Time and time again. Every 4 to 6 a.m. party that kept me up all night because my floors were shaking. This time it started at 2:45, around after bars let out, so I'm fine. I'm on TikTok, it's cool, another hour passes, and I'm exhausted and ready for bed. It's almost 4 hours after quiet hours. So I called a non-emergency line because whenever I've met with a loud neighbor, they get mad and defensive and don't change no matter how politely I ask him to please turn off the bass, at least. Probably 7 or 10 cops have gone to their door to ask him to quiet down over 2 years and nothing has changed. And here is where I think I might be the jerk. The cop that showed up tonight brought a drug dog. From what I heard, all parties were yelling and I was a bit nosy so I listened. Drugs weren't found as I didn't hear the dog. But they got a noise fine. Am I in a wrong? What? Why would you be in a wrong? You're not in a wrong. Pity there were no drugs. Might have got some peace and quiet. You're not in a wrong. They have had multiple loud 2 to 4 a.m. parties at an apartment. They should learn by now that they should find a new location, change the time, or just keep it the hell down. They must be so annoying and I'm sorry you have to go through that every time. You're not in a wrong. How can you be in a wrong when this has been going on so long? It's been reported many times, and that's why they got the fine. Your complex's quiet hours are clear to anyone moving in. If they decided to flaunt that rule over and over, the consequences are on them. I'm a male 24 if it means anything, I guess. This afternoon I had to take off from work for a few hours to take my grandma to the doctor's appointment. As such, I was dirty from working and in my normal work clothes. Denim shirt and jeans along with some greasy boots. While she was at the appointment, I went into the Safeway across the street, the one I shop at for her every week to get groceries and whatever else she needs, to get her some baby aspirin, and myself a Gatorade. While looking around trying to find a cold one, I noticed the olive bar. You fill up a container with olives and antipasto type stuff, and you weigh it at the register. So I got myself a container of olives and peppers and went walking off to the register. The deli manager, who I've talked to 100 times at this store, mind you, yells to me, "You need us to label that so you can pay?" They haven't ever done this, so I asked her, "When did that start?" "It's always been like that, bring it over." "No, it hasn't. I've always weighted it at the register." "What's the code for them? If you've done it at the register before, you'll know the code." "Well, I leave it up to the cashier." Then I started walking to the register. She then yells at me, "This is why we have to raise prices. People like you." So I asked some things I'm not proud of. I'll paraphrase here. I walked up to the deli counter and asked her directly, "Are you accusing me of trying to steal olives?" "I didn't accuse you of anything." "Oh, good. Because for a minute there I thought you were being a profiling witch and accusing me of stealing $2.50 worth of olives when I spend around $1,000 a month in this store." But when I went to walk away, she said something under her breath and stared at me while I walked away, then shouted, "Next time just pay for them." So I turned around and called her everything I had boiling up and told her to call the cops, and I will stand right here with the olives I'm trying so hard to steal. And then I said, don't worry, I can wait a minute for your loser self to get around here to detain me since I'm such a criminal. She then waddled off into the back office, and I went off to find the floor manager and told him what happened. Then he looked pissed and went off to find her. I set the stuff down and just left because I wasn't about to give them any business. Anyway, am I in the wrong? Edit. The manager of the store agreed that the policy is to weigh the olives at the checkout, and he also apologized and stomped off towards the deli on a hill pass after I told him who the worker was that did that. So anyone questioning policy, hopefully that clears things up. And now for some comments. How's anyone here excusing this absolute tantrum? You are in the wrong. You're a grown man. If an employee of the store says that policy is to get a sticker at the deli, get a sticker. Insulting a woman in such a disgusting way was so unnecessarily cruel. Her job is to make sure you pay for the olives, and even if she was rude about it, I doubt that was the case. No one deserves the kind of insults you used. Did we read the same thing? I see a man who was treated like a criminal because he was dressed like a working class person. This is not about her demanding a sticker. It's about her accusing him of theft. The store employee went against the normal policy of having items priced at the checkout because she was very certain that this person must be a criminal because this is apparently what criminals look like. After repeated assurances by OP that he was intending to pay as usual, she just dug in deeper. The employee was being an entitled, privileged woman of the sort we so often see on social media who is so certain that they know everything that they just can't face reality. Victims of this should not have to be polite and kind and win these awful people over. She definitely deserved what she got. You're not in the wrong. Gotta hop on a top comment to point out, OP added details about how sweet of a grandson he is for a reason. He could have just said I went to the grocery store in my dirty work clothes when I typically look more put together and so on. Pretty slick, but doesn't change the fact that you are in the wrong. You are in the wrong. It's the people like you that makes it extra rough for those working in customer service, such as the food sector. There is a shortage of workers, and since you didn't feel the need to have your stuff weighed because it wasn't your normal protocol, you had to unleash your word filth onto that employee. Plus, your insults are nothing short of bigotry and misogyny.